do it because you're not in that authoritative position, just like you're not here. That's all I'm saying. So don't make these people think that you're in a position, in a command position, to effectuate change with this process, because you are not.
I mean, when we came out as you know, was I not able to make a decision? Or, I mean, that's what I'm trying to say here is that, you know, I hear what you're saying, but that's just not the way that this particular situation went. And what I'm telling you is that when we went to those sites, it was me ultimately who said, wow, once we looked at it and we talked about all those things, and I talked about with the developer, that 15th Street wouldn't work, that was my work. It wasn't that, but someone else, we had to call someone to ask permission. So, you know, I disagree with what you're saying. I hear you, I appreciate your statement, but it's not accurate.
But you also said that you didn't even know nothing about the 8th Avenue side.
Right.
So you said, I knew nothing about the 8th Avenue
so
side.
8th Avenue was
what we're saying is, you're saying that you was intimately involved. But what we're saying is, if you went back right now and said, you gotta stop this, that wouldn't stop it.
It would not stop.
And the problem that we had in the first meeting, he said, I'm working very closely with the district manager. I know who the district manager is, and it's not you. That's what you said at the last meeting, right? And you said it wasn't right that you thought that some people from the district would be there at that meeting, correct? At the previous meeting. He said he thought some people from the district would be there at that meeting. So the thing about it is, when you say we're working closely with the district manager, and from experience, we know who makes the final call.
That's right.
We also know that at previous public hearings, the district manager herself came out to respond to the community.
That's right.
To show the community the respect. The #1 person in the district that's making the decisions should have enough guts to face this community and say, why are you doing what you're doing? What I'm saying is, we're not blaming you, but we think it's cowardly on the district leadership part not to be here and give this community the same respect that they gave other communities that, in mine, was stopped. It was stopped in Old Chelsea and stuff like that, because she was there to hear firsthand the concerns of this community and what was going on, which she refused to do now because she probably don't want to deal with her conscience to hear the truth, and the plan, the deal is already done. Because from the time we opened up this meeting, he says it's gonna take us about to the fall. I know that my hearing is not crazy. We done already informed the employees that we moved, the deal is done. 8th Avenue is not even a consideration, 15, and if we were so transparent, then we would have brought the union along and said, this is what we're looking to do, this is what we're looking to do, even after the first meeting when you knew we were concerned, and still that involvement didn't happen. Then we come here, we have no paper, still disrespectful, we have absolutely no information, still disrespectful, we can't answer any of the questions because we're trying to figure out what you're talking about, because you know, both of you were there. We could have had people here that absolutely knew what you were looking to do. Now, we put nothing in writing, and the reason that we put nothing in writing because we don't want to be held accountable to come back later and say, you said this, that you was going to do that. So it's part of our edict not to put anything in writing. We do that purposely not to put anything in writing. Not even to the point where you said this is a public hearing. Certain procedures go in a public hearing that we got to write to somebody. You said we got to write to you. That's the first time, because before we had to write to somebody up in Massachusetts that was waiting to hear the public comment for the comment period. Then we get even further disrespectful that we're closing the station before we even get a chance to comment. How can you tell me that the deal is not done?
That's right. He said
Everything, I mean, facts speak for themselves. I hear what you're saying, you know. You're speaking so loud, I can't hear a word that you say. I mean, the evidence is saying something totally different than what you're saying. The deal is absolutely done. So it makes my heart pour out when she comes here thanking you for having a comment like it's some sort of decency and respect. And I'm wondering, what is she thanking you for?
Right, it's not.
What is she thanking you for? For basically you showing us enough respect to show up to tell us more nothing? Right. That's nothing to thank nobody for. It's just not right. And I truly believe at some point you got to treat people like you want to be treated. And I don't care what the district manager said. I don't care what anybody else said. The least that you should have came in here. And this is what I hold you to responsible. What would I have expected if it was me sitting on this side? Would this have been good enough for you? And I already know the answer is no. And if it's not good enough for you, why would it be good enough for us? It's disrespectful. It's a shame to even call this a public hearing. This is a farce. This is an attempt to go through the procedure just to say we can have it so we can go forward and do what we always intended on doing. This is not right. And it comes back. It'll come back because the thing about it is you got so much revenue there that you're looking to give away. We thought that if the Postal Service cared about anything, we cared about revenue. We got all those packages. We got a perfect spot where Chelsea Market is right across the street. We already said that we were trying to make a smaller footprint, and that was the problem. Let's stop. Let's just stop. Let's just stop playing the games and say, listen, this is what we told them. I respect the manager tell me, listen, this is what they tell me I got to do, and this is what I'm going to do. I really respected that more than this horse and pony show, because that's exactly what this is.
Sorry, we got a little bit away before, and I want to make sure to circle back to some of the specifics, because I think, our office is concerned. We wrote about the last meeting. If there wasn't a lot of information, we wrote to the postmaster. We were able to be told that we would restart the 30-day period. And now I guess I am feeling that perhaps the promises made to our office were not actually accurate. And I was able to look up the letter that we received, the congressman received in response to his outreach. And it does say that they would restart the 30-day period and restart the process. And my concern here is, as I understand it, before the 30-day period over, you'll be closing the station, although the comment period is specifically on the closure and relocation of it, so it's hard to comment on something that will have possibly have happened in the past. And then one of the things, and I think I heard it from someone over here, but have not actually heard it from any of the postal officials here, is about when services will actually resume in the new location. I certainly appreciate the pledge that all of the services will be maintained. I appreciate the pledge that the staffing will be the same, and we will certainly be ensuring and following up to make sure that that is a promise that we are able to both receive and doing a letter exchange here with the post office, make sure it is something that the post office is willing to commit to. But when will those services be open again for the community?
Well, the services will be maintained in Old Shelton. We have a continuity of operations plan that we're going to implement here. And then once the new space is ready, then we will obviously open up that store for those services.
When?
Don't know. Do not know yet. I don't have a signed lease yet. So that's part of my
Can
issue.
you tell us how long it takes to construct a space like that?
Usually in this situation, about 120 to 180 days.
Okay. Has the post office sought a holdover from the current landlord to ensure that the services in this area, specifically, particularly near Fulton houses, are able to be maintained? I understand this concept that somehow another post office in another area is somehow sufficient. We would disagree with that. And specifically, which is why we're asking for the specifics of the plan prior to moving forward on the closure. Now we're being told that the closure is happening. So, have you sought a holdover from your current landlord?
No, our management is not advised to do that. We've looked at all the information, and a holdover situation is not going to be beneficial to the Postal Service, and we've decided to coop that.
My understanding from previous conversations with the USPS, specifically on this, was that there was a possibility for a holdover. I've also had that similar conversation with the owner of the building that said there was a possibility of a several-month holdover. So my question, I guess, for you guys is, why, at the last minute, have you decided to close these services in this area before absolutely necessary?
Right. Well, as far as the information, nobody's reached out to me as far as a holdover policy from the landlord, and also our management has made a decision.
Why on earth would you expect the landlord to reach out to you for the holdover proceeding? The USPS is the one attempting to, supposedly now,
Right.
attempting to maintain these services in this location.
Correct. Well, under the proposals that were sent in, they were like, well, if this won't work, we need you out by the lease expiration. And of course, we've continued to say, is there any room for an extension? And no extension has been warranted by the landlord. So we could definitely follow up with them, but right now, we had to make a decision, and we made that decision. So
You were asked if the giant.
Hang on a second.
He was asked.
So let me just be clear. We'll give them this moment, and then I'd like to continue my questioning. I'm sure we have a time issue.
Okay, understood. Understood. All right, okay. That's perfect. All right, okay. Thank you very much.
Okay. So I just want to make sure I'm understanding, but because what you've both now said in this exchange here, you've both now said that you sought the possibility of extension, but also that you had not explored the possibility of a holdover, and so I'm wondering which is it?
No, we looked at a potential holdover policy, but management decided to go against it. So that's why we're cooping the station.
USPS management decided to go
Yes,
against it.
yes.
So you decided to go against it. USPS has not sought a holdover.
No, that is correct, yes.
Okay. I just want to make sure, because a moment ago you seemed to imply that it was the current landlord who was the one who wanted you out. But the correct answer is, as I understand it, it is not that the current landlord has said you may not have a holdover. It is that USPS has failed to seek it.
Based on management's review of the situation, that's it, yes.
That is
Good.
correct. USPS has not sought a holdover. So USPS has not exhausted all options at maintaining the current services at this location open to make sure that there is a small as possible gap between when this location has to temporarily relocate and when the new location opens.
Correct, because unfortunately, we do not have a hard timeline on when that would be ready, and that's why management decided not to take the risk and then be, stuck in a holdover situation that would be more problematic if it runs longer than anticipated. Our attorneys looked at it, they reviewed it, and that's what the decision was made.
So my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong here, kind of given what we're doing here today, is that you do not require, there's no specific notice requirement, there's no specific process for temporarily relocating, right? Because if so, this process would be it, and you'd have to wait at least until the formal comment period is open to make your decision.
Correct, yeah.
All right, so if you were to do a holdover proceeding for several months, go into a holdover for several months to shorten that gap, to give yourselves as little time as possible, as much time to get the other one up and running, there's absolutely nothing stopping you from, say, setting a 3 to 4 month holdover, agreeing to it, and then leaving at the end of that period?
The problem is I don't have a signed lease, nor is the lease funded. Management couldn't take the risk to stay in a holdover that could last for more than a year.
Is there a reason the holdover couldn't last 4 months until to give you more time, now that you're saying that you have a specific
Right.
location that is promising and moving forward? Why would you not attempt to make sure that there was as little gap as possible?
Management made that decision, and that's where we had to follow that request to say, this is what we're going to do.
All right. So I will say that our office particularly, and I'm happy to speak for the congressman is distressed that we are invited to comment on a process, on a decision that you are now telling me as part of this exchange has already been made.
Well, then if you write to the comment period, we will definitely send that up to the client. I can't wait, hold on just a minute. I cannot execute a postal service lease until the comment period's closed. So you still have time to submit your comments. I think we were commingling the holdover specific management decision and the comment period. At the end of the day, we have to make a decision.
My understanding, and I can try to pull up the specific language here, is that this public hearing, as was originally noticed, is about the possibility for temporary closure and relocation of the services here. That is moving forward. That decision has been made. So how is it possible that our comments can influence that decision?
Yeah, what's the purpose, what is the purpose of this hearing?
Well, this was a follow-up to the original meeting because there were a lot of unanswered questions, and I take responsibility for that.
That was a farce too.
So then what was the purpose of the first hearing last week? What's the purpose of this?
We acknowledge that. We understand that you were not in a position to give us more information. The congressman wrote to the USPS, received assurances that in fact we would be restarting that process. That was the collective elected officials' request to restart the process. We received a letter in response that said we would be restarting that process and we'd be doing a new 30-day comment period. This is the beginning of that comment period, and here you are at this period, at the beginning of this comment period, when we are supposedly first being introduced to this information, saying, in fact, that the decision has already been made, we'll be moving forward before that comment period is over, and on top of that, the USPS has not sought to ensure that you are getting as lengthy as an extension from the landlord as possible.
Well, I think you have to understand that it's a two-part process. one, the holdover is completely different than the public meeting and the community meeting is for the new space. Okay, it's not have to deal with the current lease.
You know, there's
What he's saying is,
in words of
they
one
can't
syllable,
execute
what you're
the
really
lease until
saying
they go to the farce.
is
of the
basically,
comment period.
forgive me, but you're just basically saying, F you, we're gonna do it anyway.
No, guys, if you let me finish this one. I just want to make sure that we are clear, which is why I started out this discussion and this exchange with a review of the specific points that we were being asked to comment on. My understanding, as in you were able to confirm for me, that it was about the possible closure and relocation, temporary relocation and new siting of a facility. And it was all three. There are three different sections in that original hearing notice.
Right.
We reviewed that at the beginning of this exchange. Now I get to the end of this exchange where you have not met those things. You have not allowed those things to happen. What you're telling me instead is you're saying that those actually don't apply and that there is a multi-step process. And what we have confirmed, and we will pull out the paper to work to confirm, that it is about the proposed temporary relocation and reciting of these services is not the case. Are you wrong here? Or is the hearing notice wrong? Or did the USPS send out a hearing notice that actually had no meaning?
That's a good question, and, well, it's very challenging to have it line up perfectly in this situation because the Postal Service can make a decision to close if it's in the best interest of getting out of the lease and going into a controversial holdover situation. Obviously, we're working on the new space end of it. That's where the requirement for the public meeting comes in. We coop all the time if we lose a lease or whatever situation. She's pinging me. They've got to close. But follow up with a question in the comment period, and I will send it to our management for review. That's why we're here again today. Okay?
But we're going to be without services for 4 to 6 months while you get around to figuring out what you're going to do on 14th Street.
My
You
understanding
would
is
have an option to fix it so that you could carry a holdover and keep this one open at least for 3 or 4 months.
Right.
For half the construction period, and you just kind of blew that away and said, we don't care. That's basically what you're telling us the U.S. Postal Service said to this community.
But you told the people at the last meeting, when someone specifically asked you, what would happen if there wasn't a lease negotiated by the time that the old lease was there? You said, well, we would stay longer, as long as necessary. That's what you told people. You didn't say, I don't know.
I'm the final decision maker on this.
Well, then you should tell people what you can and can't say, and it would much briefer meeting because you can't say anything.
We're talking about lease, and we're talking about specific location where we want to be. It's two different things. Two different things.
It sounds like perhaps you provided interactive for both at that meeting and this meeting. And in writing.
We got time limit
Absolutely inappropriate for a public meeting.
All right.
Okay.
All right. We're being asked. We're being asked
Got to
to
close because they're going to close in doors.
What was the time frame to have this meeting? That we thought,
An hour.
an hour?
I've been to town hall meetings that they have allotted 2 hours, at minimum 2 hours.
And we've been there longer than that. An hour, so we had to get everything we wanted to get in the hour?
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. No information, then an hour.
Peter Cyrus would get a long time.
I know, it's been like 2 hours minimum.
You don't get paper and you don't get the time.
And you don't get where to see you coming. That's it.
1 hour for a community meeting when you blindsided us?
Just send it to his personal email address. Everyone knows that, right?
Should he say it out
Everyone
loud?
has that, right?
Should he say his address out loud? He should say his address out loud.
He doesn't want to say the address.
What, can you say your post office address out loud?
Yes. In respect to my email address? Sure,
Even though I don't have it on paper, I'll tell you what the address is so you can write it down. You still need to do that.
And you know what, sir? I gave you my business card when I was here last time with my email address and phone number on it. I spoke with you specifically.
What about people who aren't? Listen, he wasn't at the last meeting. There were people here who wasn't at the last meeting. What do you do? What do you do?
If we really want comments.
I mean, the
Where's that
people we
information?
represent get written up for doing the kinds of things you do.
What's your email?
Michael.bullard@usps.gov. Yes, sir.
When's your birthday?
August 7th, 1980.
Hi, Chuck.
Hello.
Sorry, Ms. Duvak.
Thank you so much for speaking up.
Sorry.